A sunny Florida town is the setting for a gruesome crime.
They clearly wanted to make it extremely difficult for us to identify the body.
A beautiful oceanside community harboring an ugly secret.
Oh, this was first-degree murder. Yeah, they had planned on it, decided how they were going to do it, and they acted out what they had planned.
Can law enforcement ever make this town feel safe again? West Palm Beach, Florida is the kind of place where people come to forget their troubles.
It's a melting pot. We have a whole different variety of nationalities that reside here.
We have the beach. It's a very nice community.
But one unforgettable summer, horror would sweep into Palm Beach. And this tropical paradise would be frozen in fear. The story begins with a frantic call to 911 from a man on the outskirts of town.
What's going on there?
It was a surveyor who was out surveying a specific piece of land, and he believed what he discovered was a body, or remains of a body. At that time, he notified the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, and subsequently the road patrol responded.
Roger, we're taking a 97 down.
Investigators swarm the scene.
We've got a call. Apparently a surveyor found what he believed to be a body in the woods.
It was kind of hidden in some trees. It was some distance away from the main road.
The surveyor didn't put that over, did he?
No, that's what she was wrapped.
That's what she was wrapped in.
Correct.
Okay.
If the surveyor was actually in that area surveying this piece of land, we probably wouldn't have discovered it for a while.
In Florida, from the heat, decomposition starts first day that you hit the ground.
It's been hot. Those whole week's been hot.
Yeah, it's been hot.
The remains are in a grisly state.
Whoa.
Your body starts to decompose. There's a large amount of maggots.
They can tell it's a woman, but for now, there's little else to go on.
At that point, we really couldn't determine anything. She could be ID'd because of the decomposition.
But on closer inspection, they discover a sickening clue.
Man, that's some strange-looking decomp on the face and neck there.
That's real.
And the one side of the face and neck appeared to be more decomped than the rest. It appeared that somebody attempted to dump some type of acid or something on her body to either destroy the evidence on it or speed up the process of decomposition.
A CSI team scours the area for anything the killer may have left behind.
And we found a piece of a cord that looked like it was out of place. At that time, we knew we had a key piece of evidence.
But it's something on the victim's body that could give detectives their best chance of solving this case.
She had some distinctive jewelry on her that appeared to be homemade.
This jewelry, I'm sure if we show it, I'm sure we would be able to get a response because it was very unique the way it was made.
If not, this investigation could be finished before it begins. As news of the shocking crime sweeps through Palm Beach, detectives go searching for answers at the medical examiner's office.
The autopsy is very important because that gives us the cause of death and also maybe what type of weapon was used. It appeared to be blunt trauma to the head, and the manner of death was strangulation.
But the killer went even further. Tests revealed the victim's head was doused in muriatic acid, an industrial-strength cleaning solvent.
It literally looked like somebody just took the gallon of muriatic acid and started pouring it. They clearly wanted to make it extremely difficult for us to identify the body.
Hard to believe something so ghastly could happen in Palm Beach.
What type of person was this that they wanted to do this? I mean, it's evil. You know, somebody would come up to thinking of something like this.
But before detectives can track the killer, they must ID the victim.
We need to find out who this person was. What was this person doing? How did this person come to be way out here in the middle of actually like nowhere?
You need that as a starting point. If you can't identify him, you really have nowhere to go.
Desperate for answers, the sheriff's department reaches out to the media. Photos of the victim's homemade jewelry are broadcast all over South Florida. And it isn't long before investigators get a hit.
We had a call from a friend that said that jewelry looks extremely familiar. I have some of it. It was a friend of mine that made it, and they gave us the name.
That name, Isabel Pedroza.
We immediately start checking the missing persons to see if there's somebody out there that fits that description, with the clothing, jewelry, and things like that.
50-year-old Isabel Pedroza vanished 5 days earlier.
Her daughter actually reported her missing. When we compared the clothing, the jewelry, we knew that we had the right person.
This isn't the first time law enforcement has dealt with the Pedroza family.
Isabel Pedroza had quite a bit of contact with the sheriff's office and dealing with domestic situations. Several reports of domestic battery, incident reports dealing with domestic situations.
Her husband's been in and out of trouble for years.
Driving license suspended issues, driving under the influence, and it showed this is one person that we also have to look at.
Suspicion begins to mount.
Why didn't this person report his wife missing? You know, what is going on here? Why is the daughter reporting her missing and not her husband?
Was Isabel Pedroza killed by her own husband, or is there another suspect lurking in the shadows? In West Palm Beach, Florida, investigators have found the mutilated body of 50-year-old Isabel Pedroza, and they suspect that her husband may have something to do with her death.
Any husband, especially when you have a past of domestic, that's a good starting point, because you're going to look at them. They have the most reason or probability of injuring your victim.
We need to find the husband. We need to find him. We need to talk to him.
Detectives get to work, tracking down their suspect. Turns out he's right under their noses.
He had been arrested and he was presently incarcerated in the Palm Beach County Jail.
There's no way he could have killed his wife. He's been behind bars for over a month.
So he had a great alibi.
The sheriff's department must cross their only suspect off their list.
Once we rule him out, we're saying this is going to be a difficult case. Now it's back to it's back to square one.
Short on leads, investigators turn to the people who knew Isabel best, her friends and family.
Now we got to go back and dive more into her background.
We do a background on the victim to see what type of person they are.
Out of the norm. Do you know a neighbor that lives right here? Yeah.
You do?
And you'd be surprised what neighbors can tell you,
Have they had any problems here?
whether their friends can tell you their relationship of how a person is.
Investigators learned that the victim worked in an eyeglass store and ran her own tax preparation business on the side.
She was a very well-liked person in the community.
But there was tension at home, even after her husband went to jail.
We also discovered during our investigation that she was having some problems with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend.
Detectives bring Pedrosa's 17-year-old daughter, Linda, down to the station.
Hey, Linda, thanks for coming down and speaking with me.
She admits that she and her mother didn't get along.
We had a really big fight.
According to Linda, Isabel had finally had enough.
Her mother had packed up and was going to move to Texas to live with her son.
Could this new information finally move the case forward?
The last thing the victim had purportedly told the daughter was that she was going to be leaving to go see a family member in Texas. So based on that information, I had concluded that perhaps her car would be found at an airport.
Deputies follow up, checking car after car, plate after plate.
Sure enough, the vehicle is actually discovered at the airport.
It hadn't rained and the vehicle was undercover, so it was primed for the processing latent fingerprints. So we immediately had an investigative tow truck come out and secure the vehicle in our crime scene garage.
What they find may just give detectives the lead they've been waiting for.
We found some fingerprints that we were able to identify.
Will they point the finger at Isabel Pedrosa's killer? West Palm Beach, Florida is reeling after the discovery of Isabel Pedrosa's acid-doused remains. Officers have discovered her car at the airport. And they found something else that just may break the case wide open. Fresh prints. There are clues inside, too. Seems the 5'4" Pedrosa wasn't the last person to drive her car.
The seat, driver's seat, did not fit the stature of the victim. It was pushed back and laid back, which would indicate to us that somebody else drove that vehicle to the airport and dumped it.
Investigators run the prints and get a hit.
Yeah, we identified those as belonging to a black man by the name of General Thompson. Upon running the criminal history on him, we discovered that he was a convicted felon and had been in prison on numerous occasions. General Thompson is presently out of jail.
Is this the face of a killer?
And he's now definitely a strong person of interest.
Detectives try to track him down.
So we make contact with the probation officer, and the probation officer gives us, he said, hey, listen, I know this guy. I'll call him and arrange for you to go out there and pick him up.
Thompson is surprisingly helpful.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, he's very cooperative. He wants to do what he can do to have himself eliminated as a suspect.
Hey, you know the reason why you're here?
It has something to do with the car.
We tell him, hey, listen, we found your prints, and if you heard about this case, and right then and there, he tells us everything.
Thompson claims he'd been teaching two friends how to drive.
Antoine asked me to show him how to drive stick.
And then he starts giving us all his, they didn't know how to drive stick, so I'm showing him how to drive stick shift. So he didn't know how to drive at all?
He didn't know how to drive.
And you're
When Thompson identifies his friends, investigators are in for a huge shock.
He told us that his friend was Antoine Wright, and this was Linda Pedrosa's boyfriend.
Linda Pedrosa and her boyfriend Antoine Wright. Was this murder a family affair after all? The sheriff's department gets a search warrant for the Pedrosa home.
We were looking for blood, splatter, anything broken, anything that would indicate a struggle.
When we first went to the house, we looked at her room. Her room was like a regular teenage girl's room. And then we looked at Miss Pedrosa's room. It was very organized. Everything was put away. Everything was very neat.
But then they notice an area of the bedroom that's freshly painted. Is there a dirty secret hiding underneath? A chemical called luminol could answer that question.
Fluorescence, if it hits blood, really bright, and it'll show you maybe a pattern where somebody was cleaning up swipe marks, high velocity blood splatter.
As soon as they started spraying it, the luminol was just glowing everywhere. It was a vicious attack. It was brutal and vicious. It was horrifying. There was blood everywhere.
From the luminol and the investigation, we believe that she was murdered in the hallway of the residence.
Murdered, detectives believe, at the hand or the will of her own teenage daughter.
At this point, Linda Pedrosa has gone from a person of interest to a suspect because the murder happened inside the house and she's the last person who saw her mother alive.
Detectives working the Isabel Pedrosa murder have found blood spatter hiding under fresh paint in the home she shared with her daughter, Linda. The 17-year-old and her boyfriend, Antoine Wright, are now the prime suspects in this case. But blood evidence alone won't ensure a conviction.
We discussed some things.
Investigators turn up the heat.
We brought Linda to the question for her, and we know this is our shot now. And we're going to get a confession today, and we're going to put this case to rest. When she came in, she was almost feeling sick. You could tell she was like feeling sick to her stomach. And we said, now we got the edge.
Tell me what happened.
It was Friday, June 23rd.
Okay.
We started the interview, and as soon as she started the interview, she started breaking down. Now all we got to do now is you got to tell us what happened. And she tells us everything what happens.
When we got home Friday, we were waiting for my mom to come home from work. She came in, and when she walked towards her room, I was in the living room, and he hit her with a pan really hard. And she screamed, and she tried to run out, and I had locked the doors and everything, and he grabbed her and took an extension cord and choked her in the hallway. And then 2 minutes later, she was dead.
Well, this was first-degree murder. They had planned on it, decided how they were going to do it, and they acted out what they had planned.
He put her in the bathtub, and then we closed the bathroom door. That night, that Friday night, when we got back home, he drained the water out of the bathtub, and he opened the bathroom window. I wasn't there. He told me everything he did. And he poured the 4 bottles of acid into the bathtub where she was. And he said that will disintegrate her or whatever.
My reaction to this is like, how stupid can they be? They definitely thought that pouring this muriatic acid on her would disintegrate the body and that it would go down the drain. And no, That didn't happen.
I really love Antoine. That's why I did it. That's why I let him do it.
But that's your mother.
I know.
I don't see how you can love him that much.
But I love him. Nobody understands how much I love him.
It's all the evidence detectives need to charge Linda Pedroza and Antoine Wright for murder. She refuses to testify against her beloved boyfriend. But Wright turns on Linda without hesitation. In court, Wright claims the murder was Linda's idea. He takes a plea deal and is now serving a 20-year sentence. Linda Pedroza received a 40-year sentence for the murder of her own mother.
But it was very tragic case and brutal case.
And to be murdered in her own house is a terrible, terrible thing. And when you solve a case like that, it's very satisfying.